Dispense with the next session's introduction. So I'll directly invite Mr. Alexander Ray Johnson, who is the Education Technology Coordinator at American School of Bombay. He'll introduce the topic himself and carry on with the presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. I am very happy to be actually the second person going after lunch, because initially I thought I was going immediately following the meal, and I was very concerned because, as most good teachers know, coming back from mealtime is a difficult moment in order to engage your students. So thank you for doing the Energizer and bringing them back, because I would have done something similar, so I appreciate that. As you heard, my name is Alexander Ray Johnson, and I work at the American School of Bombay. And today I'm going to be sharing a little bit about virtual reality, the work that we've done so far at our school, and some of the ways in which it can be implemented. But really the purpose of today is to begin a conversation, and my preferred method of communication happens to be Twitter. If you want to shoot me a DM on Twitter, we can continue talking. If you're interested in VR, the only way we can really move forward is through collaboration, and we know that about education, so I think that this would be a wonderful moment for us to start building a relationship. It's there too, you can get it. So just a little bit about me. Yes, that's my picture. My hair has changed. I got married 2 years ago, so I've put on a little bit of weight. I know that. I've been in India for the past 7 years. I am, like I said, the EdTech coordinator at the American School of Bombay. My role encompasses all grade levels, and I work with teachers and ways to integrate technology meaningfully in the classroom, regardless of what they happen to be teaching. I'm a third-generation international educator. In fact, 40 some odd years ago, my grandfather actually was the head of a school in Panchgani. So even though I'm American, I've grown up everywhere, and India has a special place in my heart, and that's why I love being here. The American School of Bombay is a very mission-driven institution, and I want to just put this up here for a moment because we always try to reconnect what we do with our students to our mission and our vision. And when I look at virtual reality, I see really continuous inquiry as being something that is relevant when looking at this new form of technology. The agenda for today is going to be fairly simple. I'm going to talk a little bit about what virtual reality is to me. I'm going to establish some kind of relevance for education, talk a little bit about how you can begin thinking about implementation plans, and then also look towards next steps, like I said, to continue this conversation. When we think of virtual reality, you might think of something like this. This is a photograph from a 4th grade classroom in our elementary school campus. Real quick show of hands, how many people here have actually or can say that they've experienced virtual reality? A fair number, to be honest, and I think it's good, because if I came to an EdTech conference and I didn't see any hands go up, I would be a little bit more concerned. I think that a lot of times the entryway into VR is going to be the mobile headsets. You're going to take a phone, you're going to put it into a headset. The headset can be made out of cardboard. You can put it on your face, and you're going to experience 360-degree video. That is the entry level. And that really is what you're seeing here. The headsets might be made out of plastic, but really it is the Google Cardboard method of virtual reality. And that is one form, and we're going to talk about different forms in this presentation as well. The reason why I asked who's actually experienced VR is because the research shows that if you have not experienced virtual reality, so if your hand did not go up, you really need to put yourself out there and try it at least once. Otherwise, it's difficult to engage in a conversation around it, because it's hard to really understand the potential. And we talk about this with many technology tools, that if you don't get your hands on it, you don't really know how you can apply it in the classroom, and teachers become masters of experimenting. Virtual reality takes that to a whole nother level, where it transforms your reality in so many ways that until you put it on, you're not going to be able to generate the ideas of how you can use it. We might be familiar with different frameworks that we use in technology integration. For example, maybe the SAMR model might be familiar to some of us, or TPAC. There are many different forms exist, many different models exist as a way to sort of evaluate the impact that you have in the way in which you're using technology in the classroom. This is a wonderful graphic made by a colleague of mine who works in a school in Dubai. And he created this as a way to sort of wrap our head around what virtual reality looks like when it's used in different ways. So for example, the photograph you saw of the phone inside of a headset, that would fall along the left side of the spectrum towards perception and stimulation. What that means is you're passively enjoying an experience. You don't have the autonomy, the choice to really move around in a virtual space and interact. You're a passenger. When you come to the other side of the continuum, you look at interaction and immersion. And that is really where you begin to get autonomy and a sense of choice. Students are able to explore on their own, and it comes to that continuous inquiry as they're able to experiment and engage with their virtual environment around them. Not to say, again, that any side of this is necessarily better, because we know with educational technology, there's a time and there's a place for everything. And there will always be a trade-off, because the further you come to the right, the more expensive it becomes, and oftentimes the more time you spend setting it up. For those of you that don't know what virtual reality looks like, I'm going to talk a little bit while this video is playing, just so you can get a better idea. This is footage that I took over perhaps a 6 months period. My foray into virtual reality started many years ago with headsets and the mobile phones, but it wasn't until about a year ago now that I got my first true virtual reality headset. I set it up in my space, and it was one of the more expensive models that allows for full immersion. And what I did was I began to just invite every single person that came over to my house to try it on and to begin exploring. So that meant everyone from my household help. I took them skiing. I gave them underwater experiences, especially from one of them who's very scared of swimming. So that was wonderful for her. I invited family members, my grandparents, my aunts, my uncles, anyone who wanted to try it on got a chance. And with each one of them, it was amazing to see the sort of excitement that transcended age. Virtual reality will revolutionize the way that we approach teaching and learning. That is an inevitability. It's going to change the way that we interact with one another. And the real decision is, are we going to do something about it, or are we going to do what the education industry traditionally does, which is wait and wait and wait, and then make a decision? Businesses are always beating us to it, and it's a sad reality. And I'm going to talk a little more about that later. But the research is there. It's coming. It's only been, being generated for a few years, but the research is there. The business sector is already way ahead of us, and it's about time that we start catching up. So, why is it relevant to education? Me being a data person, I love to look at the research. I love to back up what I say to my teachers so I can show them the evidence. If you know the International Society of Technology and Education, ISTE, they're a global institution, and they really have they put this out last year saying, keep an eye on VR because it's a big trend coming. And they weren't the first ones to say that. I actually was very excited to see a research study that came out by a group called Foundry 10, and you can see it over there on the right. They did an aggregated study of about 1,400 students across different age groups, and they wanted to see what their reactions were before they put on the headset and after they put on the headset. The blue is before they put on the headset, and the red is after. And I'm sure nobody needs explanations as to how to read this. It's fairly straightforward, but as a teacher, I'm going to make sure I differentiate for my learners. So on the right-hand side, we see strongly agree. On the far left, you see strongly disagree and everything in between. And the question was, will virtual reality help you gain a better understanding of different places? And as you see, once they put on the headset, that moved even more to the right, where it was strongly agree. So if you haven't gotten a chance to try on a headset, I encourage you to go out, find someone who has one, go to a store where they might be doing a demo, try it on. It will transform the way you perceive what's coming. Another one, same question, except a better understanding of different people. At the American School of Bombay, we have over 50 nationalities. We believe very strongly in embracing culture, embracing the culture of the students that arrive in our school and the families that arrive, but also embracing the culture of our host country, which is India. So for us, seeing this data was a huge selling point because we have kids coming in from all over throughout the year, and we look at this as a wonderful way to help their new peers engage with where they're coming from, and allowing the people who are arriving in our school to share a little bit of their story. We also earlier today heard the term mixed reality, and I know it can be very difficult to differentiate between AR, VR, and MR, or augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality. But simply think of mixed reality as a combination of the two, where you're able to take virtual elements and see the real world around you. I just pulled up this today. I saw it published through the Harvard Business Review, and this is what I was talking about, where the business sector is already leaps and bounds ahead of us in education, with 87% of businesses reporting that they are already exploring the implementation of mixed reality as a way to train people and a way to give them a sort of on-the-job experience without having to actually put them on the job. So we're talking about personalized learning today. We're talking about being able to differentiate for people. The power of virtual reality is, and mixed reality and augmented reality, is that you really can allow people to experience things without physically having to go to a place, without actually having to touch something, which could be potentially dangerous in many cases if you're training them. So it's wonderful to see this data, but it also puts a little bit of a fire underneath us that we need to be motivated to be doing more. I will share a little bit of our implementation plan in case you are interested in trying something out in your school. We are a two-campus school. We have a campus that serves the elementary or primary school, so grade 5 and below, and we have another campus which serves the older students. Like I said, it is different depending on what you want to do. So we know that with the elementary school, the cost should be lower, the headsets need to be lighter, and we typically look at using mobile devices as a way for them to begin experiencing VR. So the perception and stimulation on that model I showed. That's great because the initial cost is much lower, and you can get donations from parents giving in their old phones. I know somebody else mentioned that today, but that's something even we are looking into, just having a phone drive and saying if you have a phone with a gyroscope that you don't want, donate it, and that's going to go to allowing another student in the classroom to experience VR. Secondary school is where I believe the real magic is going to happen. And that's because I am working with my team to develop a VR lab. And somebody else mentioned, I think it was the first keynote speaker who said that his school has a VR lab. And that's wonderful and exciting. And I can already begin thinking about the possibilities, because that transforms the students from content consumers to content creators. We talk about STEM, we talk about coding. What is more powerful than being able to create a virtual experience, either through 3D modeling combined with coding, and then being able to step through it? I want to share a few examples of what we've already been doing as well. So in our implementation plan in the elementary school, we have a 360-degree camera. And I'm not sure if anybody else in the room has a 360-degree camera, either in terms of taking on their travels or if they might want to use it in schools. But it has allowed us to create virtual tours of our institution so other children, prospective parents, can step through and experience what it feels like to walk down the halls. And that is using an online tool which came out over the summer, which is completely free to everyone, which is Google's Tour Creator. You simply take the photos, you upload them to that library, you set hotspots that you can engage with information and content knowledge, and then you just upload it for the world to share. Like I said, we're also looking at creating ways that third culture kids can better integrate into India and to our institution. We're developing that sense of international mindedness as well by allowing people to explore places that they otherwise wouldn't be able to. We're also looking at using virtual reality as a way to document some of the trips that our students take. And they travel to places all over India. Gorgeous places that they typically would go and snap a few photos with their phone. Being able to do a virtual reality experience of that would allow incoming students to be excited for the trips that they're going to take. If you're interested, there are next steps. We're having a conference at our institution in October, and I would love to have more people engage with us on that topic. Again, it's a passion project for me, virtual reality, and it's something that I'm very excited about. So if you're interested in trying, if you're interested in seeing the facilities of what we have, or just putting on a headset, please get in touch with me. And I will leave this up for a moment. I'm going to open it up for questions, and I will also just, again, thank you so much for having me, and thank you to the whole EdTech team who organized this. It was fantastic to be invited. It was a little bit of a long drive this morning, and I had to leave pretty early in the morning, but I'm happy I'm here today. And thank you for being a fantastic audience. Much appreciated. If anyone has a question. Anyone?
So what subjects and topics do you really cover using this VR, sir? If you could just give us some brief.
What age group would you be referring to?
Say 5th standard to 9th standard.
Okay, so when you're looking in 5th standard, that still counts as our elementary school. So when we're looking at the research, we know that below a certain age, children should not be engaging too much in virtual reality. And also, depending on the weight of the device, we have to limit it because of we don't want to over encumber their neck. So there is data that's coming out about that. So we would stick to the more passive types of content. So what that means is it's going to be a lot of, like I said, 360-degree video. Because we follow the PYP model, it's very transdisciplinary. So I've used it in the past to allow students to explore places, to have them inquire, because if they're able to watch, they're able to see, and they're able to make connections to things like culture, topography, geology, history. And there are some tools which are available on the phones. Again, if you get in touch with me, I can share a more comprehensive list. But really, at this point, it's more a matter of what can VR not integrate with. Because there is so much out there, and it's being generated more and more every single day. And as we see the number of sales of these devices increase, people are beginning to generate more content for them. So a year ago, I would have been struggling more to answer your question, but now if you get in touch with me, I can send you just pretty much anything on any subject matter, and you'll be able to use it with your students. Anyone else? All right, thank you very much.